Well, 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 look what the patrol dragged in today. A human, a genuine, honest-to-the-void human, sitting in my interrogation chamber like a deflated balloon animal someone forgot at a child's birthday party. I am Captain Zeth of the Vorkan Empire, and in my 30 cycles of military service I have seen some pathetic specimens. But this one takes the trophy for most underwhelming prisoner of war I have ever laid my 4 eyes upon. The creature calls himself Jake, according to his ship's manifest. Jake the cargo pilot. Jake the delivery boy. Jake the absolutely mind-numbingly ordinary human who managed to get himself captured while hauling fertilizer shipments across the outer rim. How perfectly human. Look at him, sitting there in that chair, all pink and squishy like an uncooked Tyrannian grub. No scales, no exoskeleton, no defensive spines, just soft, vulnerable flesh wrapped around what I can only assume is an equally soft brain. His hair is this bizarre brown color that looks like dried vegetation, and those tiny little eyes, 2 of them. Only 2. How does his species even function with such limited visual input? The best part? He is not even struggling against the restraints. Most species at least attempt to break free, show some dignity, some fight. This Jake fellow just sits there breathing through that ridiculous little nose hole, occasionally blinking those inadequate eyes. My facility here on mining asteroid Kepler-7 has hosted some of the galaxy's most dangerous criminals. Warlords, space pirates, terrorist masterminds. And now I get a human fertilizer delivery boy who probably could not fight his way out of a paper containment unit. This is going to be embarrassingly easy. I have assembled my finest interrogation team for this momentous occasion. Security Chief Drac, whose intimidation techniques have broken hardened criminals in mere hours, stands to my left, flexing his impressive arm spikes. Science Officer Nira hovers nearby with her neural probe equipment, ready to extract information the old-fashioned way if necessary. Human Jake, I begin, settling into my command chair with all the authority my rank deserves. Let us start with something simple. Where are your species' military installations in the Centauri sector? Jake stares at me. Just stares. Not with defiance, not with fear, not with the usual cocktail of emotions I expect from prisoners. He looks at me the way one might observe a mildly interesting rock formation. Perhaps he did not hear you, Captain, Drac suggests, leaning forward menacingly. Human, the captain asked you a question. More staring. Jake's eyes do not even blink at Drac's impressive display of razor-sharp teeth. This is either supreme courage or supreme stupidity, and given what I know about humans, I am leaning heavily toward the latter. Maybe his brain is damaged, Nira chimes in, waving her scanner over the human's skull. The readings are unusual. High neural activity, but no verbal response centers lighting up. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. He continues to sit there like a living statue, breathing in that slow, rhythmic pattern that somehow manages to be both boring and infuriating. Sir, Drac whispers, what if he genuinely does not know anything? Cargo pilots are typically kept out of military planning. Then why, I hiss back, is he not telling us that? Any rational being would explain their lack of knowledge to avoid unpleasant consequences. This silence is either the most stubborn display of defiance I have ever witnessed, or what, Captain? I study Jake's face, searching for any crack in that infuriatingly calm expression. Or humans are even stranger than our intelligence reports suggested. Day 1, I authorized Drac to use standard pressure point manipulation. Jake sat there while my security chief applied techniques that have made grown Korthic warriors weep like hatchlings. Not even a wink. The human just kept staring with those unsettling little eyes, as if he was memorizing the color of our scales. Day 2, Nira tried sensory overload, then sensory deprivation. Bright lights, loud sounds, complete darkness, total silence. Jake's heart rate never changed. His breathing stayed perfectly even. Meanwhile, in the cell next to him, a Zelenian smuggler was singing like a symphony orchestra just to get better food rations. Captain, Nira reported, looking genuinely puzzled. His pain receptors are functioning normally. He should be feeling everything we are doing to him. Then why is he not reacting? I have no idea. Day 3 brought desperation. We tried bribery, offered him better food, comfortable quarters, even safe passage home. Nothing. The guards started placing bets on what it would take to make the human speak. 10 credits said electroshocks. 20 said threatening his family. 50 said threatening his cargo routes. They all lost. You know what is really starting to bother me? Guard Corporal Vex mentioned during shift change. He never stops looking at us. Even when we are not in the room, you can feel those eyes tracking movement through the security feeds. It is like he is studying us, another guard whispered, mapping out our routines, learning our patterns. Do not be ridiculous, I snapped, though privately I was beginning to share their unease. He is a cargo pilot, not a military strategist. But as I watched Jake through the surveillance monitors that night, sitting perfectly still in his cell while other prisoners paced, cried or demanded lawyers, I could not shake the feeling that something was fundamentally wrong with this picture. He was not even participating in it. It was almost as if he was waiting for something. Day 4, the breakthrough I had been expecting finally arrived, though not quite in the way I had anticipated. I was reviewing security footage when Drac burst into my office, his spines rattling with excitement. Captain, the human spoke. Finally, I leaped from my chair. What did he say? Troop locations, fleet positions, supply routes. Well, Drac shifted uncomfortably. He said, "You're all dead." I blinked all 4 of my eyes in sequence. Excuse me? That is it. Just those 3 words, very quietly. Then he went back to staring. Oh, how absolutely precious. The little human thinks he is intimidating. After 3 days of complete silence, Jake decides to grace us with what can only be described as the most pathetic threat in galactic history. You're all dead? Really? That is the best his tiny brain could manage? I started laughing. I could not help it. Here sits this soft, defenseless creature in restraints, surrounded by armed guards in a heavily fortified facility, and he thinks he is the dangerous one in this equation. The sheer audacity of it was almost charming in its complete detachment from reality. Did you record it? I asked, wiping tears from my eyes. Of course, Captain. Good. I want to play it at the next officers' dinner party. They will find it hilarious. Captain, we have lost contact with command. Equipment malfunction? I asked, though something cold was already forming in the pit of my stomach. That is what I thought initially, but sir, it is not just the long-range transmitters. Internal communications are spotty. The security feeds keep cutting out for 30-second intervals, and the backup power grid is experiencing unexplained fluctuations. I followed him to the control center, where 3 technicians were frantically checking circuits and recalibrating systems. How long has this been happening? Started about 6 hours ago, sir. Very gradually at first, but it is accelerating. 6 hours. That put the timeline right around when Jake made his little declaration. Coincidence? Had to be. What could one restrained human possibly do to sabotage a military-grade facility? Captain, Guard Lieutenant Beck's voice crackled through my comm unit. We have a situation in Cell Block C. The Zelenian smuggler and 2 other prisoners were found unconscious in their cells. No signs of violence. No indication of how it happened. Medical emergency? Unknown, sir. They are alive but unresponsive. Dr. Quinn is examining them now. I was about to respond when Corporal Vex burst into the control room, his breathing heavy. Sir, you need to hear this. I was doing perimeter checks, and I keep hearing noises in the ventilation system. Scratching sounds, like something moving through the ducts. Maintenance drones? That is what I thought, but I checked the automated systems. No scheduled maintenance, and all drones are accounted for in their charging bays. A terrible realization began to creep into my mind like ice water through my veins. For 3 days Jake had sat in perfect silence, not speaking, not moving, just observing. Learning our schedules, memorizing guard rotations, mapping acoustic patterns through the facility's structure. Show me the surveillance footage of the human cell, I ordered quietly. For the past 4 days, all of it. Because suddenly, horribly, I was beginning to suspect that Jake had not been our prisoner at all. He had been conducting reconnaissance. The alarm started shrieking at 0347 hours. Cell block B, maximum security level, Jake's. I ran through the corridors, my claws clicking against metal flooring, Drake and half the security team behind me. When we reached Jake's cell, the door stood wide open. The electronic lock had been bypassed, not forced. Bypassed with what appeared to be a twisted piece of meal tray and some thread pulled from his prison uniform. How in the void did he manage that? Drake whispered, examining the lock mechanism. Lockdown. Now. I barked into my con. Full facility lockdown. All personnel to battle stations. The red emergency lights bathed everything in an ominous glow as blast doors sealed throughout the installation. Internal sensors activated, motion detectors went online, automated defenses powered up. Standard protocol for escaped prisoner situations. We had done this drill dozens of times. Except this time the prisoner was hunting us. Guard post 7 went silent first. When we reached it, we found Corporal Mex, slumped over his console, unconscious. No wounds, no signs of struggle, just like the other prisoners. Only this time, all the weapons were missing from the security locker. Medical team to guard post 7, I called. Static answered me. That is impossible. The human has to be somewhere. Sir, it is like he is invisible. My attempts to contact command were met with dead silence. The communication array had been completely disabled, and when tech specialist Quinn went to investigate, we found her tools scattered across the floor, and her unconscious form wedged behind a server rack. Captain, Drax's voice was getting higher with each report. We are down to 12 active personnel. Whatever this human is doing, he is picking us off one by one, and we cannot even see him coming. I stared at the facility blueprints displayed on my command screen, trying to think like a human. Where would Jake strike next? What was his pattern? But every time I thought I had figured out his strategy, another guard would go silent, another post would fail to report in. The worst part was the silence between attacks. Minutes would pass with nothing but the hum of life support systems and our increasingly frantic breathing. Then someone else would scream. Then, nothing. Then we would find another body. That was when Jake stopped being subtle about his intentions. We found the first message scrawled across the wall in Sector 5, written in what I desperately hoped was not Corporal Vex's blood. 8 left. The lights in engineering went dark at 0512 hours. Then Medical Bay at 0534. By EU600, entire sections of the facility were operating on emergency power only, casting everything in that hellish red glow that made shadows dance like living nightmares. Stay together, I ordered the remaining 6 guards. Nobody goes anywhere alone. 20 minutes later, Officer Kral started shooting at his own reflection in a polished wall panel, convinced he saw the humans sneaking up behind him. We had to sedate him before he killed someone accidentally. Well, someone other than himself. 5 left, appeared on my office door in fresh blue blood. Coarth blood, judging by the color. That was when the horrible truth finally struck me like a plasma bolt to the brain. This was not random violence. This was not the desperate flailing of a trapped animal. This was systematic psychological warfare conducted by someone who understood exactly how terror worked as a weapon. Jake was not just killing us, he was making us afraid to be alive. The human was not fighting for escape. He was fighting for complete psychological dominance. I am alone now in my command center, every door sealed, every weapon drawn. The facility hums with the silence of the dead. My hands shake as I record this final log entry. Hello, Captain Zeth. I spin around, and there he is, Jake, standing in the corner like he materialized from the shadows themselves. No longer the helpless cargo pilot, his eyes hold the cold calculation of a predator who has finished playing with his prey. Impossible. The doors are sealed. Maintenance. Shafts, he says simply. Map them on day 2. Former Marine Corps reconnaissance, by the way. Not cargo pilot. My blood turns to ice. The silence. Standard reconnaissance protocol. Gather intelligence, assess threats, identify weaknesses. Your mistake was thinking silence meant surrender. He steps closer, and I finally understand what I am looking at. Not a victim, not a prisoner, a weapon. The recording ends there.